Hello everybody, Hellcracks here, and welcome to Thoughts from a Dystopian World, episode 12. And today we're going to be talking about a ship that I really do like. It is the destroyer Guilford. It has a lot of things I do like in it. It's been used quite a bit on my part, so much that I went out of my way and bought a whole bunch of them at one time so I could have, 3 squadrons of these things? Just because I liked them so much and what they brought to the table. Alright, the Guilford is 40 points. It's a destroyer, just your standard destroyer, the very first one that ever came out. It's got a regular crew. So if you decide to do a boarding action, they hit on a 4 and they defend on a 4. So they're just run-of-the-mill type of crew. And hopefully you never see them close enough to worry about getting into a, boarding action. I prefer to keep them kind of in the back, around the 2nd and 3rd range band. Alright, it's a small naval ship. At the minimum movement of 2, unless you anchor these things. They have a turn limit of 0, so they use a small turning template, so once you go the 2 inches forward, then they can turn if they want to. They have a squadron size of 2 to 4, so you have a cost value of 80 to 160 points. So basically, you can get a squadron of these for the cost of a battleship. Think about this, and you're going to understand why I take a lot of these things. Alright. They're a bang for your buck. Yes. Alright, the DR and the CR. It's 4 and 5. So it's just like your frigates that you have running around for the Federated States of America. So they can get obliterated pretty quickly if you get them too close. And when I play against individuals, they do realize that these things are a pain, and they do try to target them to take them out as quick as possible. Alright, the movement is stellar, 12. So on the very first turn, they can close rapidly and then unleash rocket batteries into someone's face. And pretty much start really messing up battleships and dreadnoughts. A squadron of these can cause havoc. It has a hull point of 2, so don't have to worry about them exploding, but it doesn't take more than some 6s hitting them and they're done dinner. So if they get targeted, they're gone usually. Okay, they have assault points of 2, so if somebody does get close enough to them, they can assault across, but there's only 2. But a squadron size of 4 if they're close enough. You're going to have a bunch of Marines come flying over on their jetpacks. They do have 2 anti-aircraft capability, 2 dice. With a squadron of 2 to 4, you typically are going to find yourself with a capability of protecting themselves to some extent. Not great, but they do have the ability to throw some dice. The one thing that really can hurt these things, if like I got one opponent that likes to target them separately, one at a time. It's like this one here, this one, so all 4 in a squadron are going to get hit with like an anti-aircraft, like a small air squadron torpedo attack or something like that, or dive bombers, and hoping for the best, because with 2 dice, the odds are there something's going to get through. And if they do throw the dice at them with, like, say, a torpedo attack, then the concussion charge is only 2. So together they're not bad, but separately they can have problems. All right. If someone decides to get close enough to ram them or collide with them, it's only 1 die. So the odds of them hurting somebody are greatly diminished. And if a destroyer, something bigger than a destroyer like cruisers and battleships or battlecruisers hit one of these things, it's probably going to get obliterated without any worries about being crushed back. Now, the weapons on board are the 4 volley guns, which are S weapons, and rocket batteries, which are T's tertiary. At one time, this used to have 2 rocket batteries. Now you understand why I used to take 2 of these, or a bunch of these. With 2 rocket batteries, they were stellar. But now they reduced it down to 1 because they obviously thought, ooh, these things are too nasty to put on the board. Alright, let's just talk about the Mars model assigned rules for a second before we get on to the weapons. We have advanced engines, which is interesting because with a 12 movement, they do get across really quickly. But with advanced engines, if they go in a straight line, and why not, because your weapons are all can face forward, they get an extra 2-inch movement. So if they move forward, direct, no turning or anything, they can move 14. We're talking Corvette speed. So they can close on somebody really quick, get into almost the second range band or even the third range band on the first turn, and unleash a bunch of rockets on somebody. And they're not going to like it. Definitely do not like it. So, but that's pretty much the only time you're going to see that advanced engine MAR really be used. Is not, typically for me it's on the first turn. When I want to close a little bit, get that into that third range band with those rocket batteries, and after that it doesn't matter. They're probably turning and stuff to keep some distance away from their opponents. Now, it does have pack tactics, just like the Heavy Destroyer, with its rocket batteries. So with pack tactics, you get, for each one past the first ship, you get an extra die. So in a squadron of 4, you get 3 extra dice. That can mean a lot. That's the difference maybe between doing a DER versus a CR on a ship, because 3 extra dice adds up. That's the nice thing about these things. They can throw a lot of dice at you. And being that it's a small target, capital ships will have a problem shooting at them. So if they're shooting at you at range band 4, they only hit you on a 5 or 6. But if they do hit you with a couple 6s, or you're done. You're done dinner. So not much you can do about that. So they can get obliterated pretty quickly if someone focus fires on them. Now, let's go back to the weapons. This weapon has a 4 volley gun, like I said, faces to the front, 180-degree arc. So you take your ship, divide it in half. Anything to the 4 of that, or the front of the ship, you have a 2 range band weapon system. So with a squadron of, let's say, 4, and if you are in range band 2, you can throw, let's see, 8 dice at somebody. That's not bad. Cruisers are going to look at you and go, well, that can hurt. Definitely if you're shooting at anything that's a frigate or destroyer, or even corvette, they're going to look at you and go, well, that can be a problem too. Now, if you get into the range band 1, they are S weapons, so you don't have to worry about any pluses to hit with. So they still hit on a 4 unless it's a target that is a fast, or target that has a -1 against small naval ships. They're going to hit on 4s, and you are tossing 10 dice at somebody. That's good. Unless you had some damage on your ships, then it's going to degrade that. But still, that's a lot of dice. You hit a cruiser with 10 dice, the odds are it's going to probably get hit with a DR or a CR. A lot of times it's a CR. You're going to get some 6s in there, and some 4s and 5s. So you typically, the odds are, if you roll 10 dice, you're going to be 1, maybe 2 6s, and you're going to have 3 4s and 5s out of the bunch. Probably 4 of them, so you're going to do at least 6 to 8 points of damage to some hits. So the odds are you're going to probably do a CR on a cruiser. Alright. Now, the rocket battery, which is basically the delivery system of this entire squadron. The rocket battery is a T weapon. It goes out to range band 3. So, if you shoot somebody at range band 3 and you have a squadron of 4 of these, you have 15 dice right off the bat. So you got the base ship with 6, then you have, add up to 18, half of 18 is 9, add that's 15. But we have pack tactics with the rocket batteries, And that's the 3 more dice. So you're throwing, at range band 3, 18 dice at something. And you hit them with 18 dice. I'm telling you, even a battleship is probably going to be going, well, I just took some CRs. Because with 18 dice, the odds are you're going to have at least 3 6s in there. And half of those are probably going to have at least 1 point of damage. So you're looking at roughly 5, 6, 12 hits. So that's your CR on a battleship. Dreadnought's a different story. It might be a little bit less. Then minus their shield generators and all that knocking stuff down, or their ACAC knocking stuff down, so it can degrade that. But if you hit somebody that has their ACAC down, the odds are they're going to take a pounding from these guys. And this is, maybe you have 2 squadrons of these things, maybe like me with 3. Yeah, they're going to be going, oh my gosh. It's like you watch a battleship or a battle cruiser or even a dreadnought suddenly get reduced by half by these guys. Now, one thing that's interesting with this is that the model options with this is that you can have pinpoint rockets model assign rule for 5 more points. And so you can bump the cost up to 45, which is the same cost as taking the Yale. So, and I'd rather spend 45 points on these destroyers versus the Yales myself, just because of this capabilities. And you get to take more of them in a squadron. Now, for that 5 points, you get the pinpoint rocket model assign rule, which means if you get a CR on somebody, you have a +1 option on the critical hit table. So you roll your 2 dice, 2 to 12, and you have the option, after you look at the results, let's say you, let's bring them up here. Let's say you roll a 6. You look at the 6, and the 6 is weapons damage, so you can cut their weapons fire in half, or you can do a hard pounding and knockoffs and assault points. Okay, I'd probably just go with the half weapons damage, because if you can cut somebody's dice pool down, do it. But if you hit they rolled a 9, I was like, okay, I can add a 1 to that's chaos and disarray. And with chaos and disarray, tertiary weapons, deployed mines, cannot initiate boarding actions or carry actions, plus chaos and disarray critical effect markers put on the model. So with that one, they lose 2 hull points, and with chaos and disarray, obviously they basically, you're knocking off a lot of their capability for protecting themselves. Or let's say you have the option to say you roll a 3, you have a raging fire or shredded defenses. And I know I'm going to go in with a carrier action with my small air squadrons. I might just go, you know what, I'm going to do the shredded defenses and knock off any ACAC they may have, so my torpedo bombers can go in and just hammer them, or dive bombers for that matter, and just drop bombs and blow the living smithereens out of them. Now, there's the other great ones. If you roll a 10, you can make it a fusion leak, which does D3 corrosion effects, which is really bad because then you're doing damage over time because the fusion reactor is melting down inside the ship. Or the wonderful one is a 12, Sturgium Flare, which basically you teleport their ship someplace else, which is fun because I've teleported dreadnoughts before on top of other ships and just watched, then suddenly, oh, you're taking the spot of where all these other ships are, and you're like, oh boy, here comes the fun, because now the ram rating hull damage is like suddenly everybody's getting crunched underneath it, so you're doing lots of fun, and you could possibly even teleport somebody off the board. Fun. That's fun, giggly time. You go, hey, it's gone. So that is one of the options with it. Now, if you don't really care about it, if you want to save that 5 points for a squadron, you could bring in maybe another frigate. Yeah, that might be an option too. More firepower. But you do have those options with the rocket batteries. Now, with those rocket batteries, obviously I said you can go shoot out to range band 3, 2, and 1. Obviously, the best place to keep these things shooting is at range band 3. Pick your target and try to find the range band 3. Have your 4 volley guns finding stuff in 2s and 1s if something gets close. Typically, your opponent's most likely going to be having some type of frigates and corvettes up in your face, so those 4 volley guns eventually are going to be doing some action, and if you get close enough, even cruisers. But at range band 2 with a squadron of 4 that haven't been damaged, you're looking at 5 for your base, plus 15. Half 15 is 8, plus 5 is 13, add 3 more, so you're rolling 16 dice. That is good, really good. And if by chance somebody blocks your line of sight so you can only shoot at something at range band 1, you know, it happens. They may have thrown a blockade of frigates and corvettes in front of these things to protect their capital ships from being hit by the destroyer. So your choice is, well, I don't like to shoot these things, so I'm going to go after the frigates. Well, you have a base 4 plus 12, half that 6, so 12 plus 3 more, 13. So if you're firing all of them at a single frigate, it's probably obliterated. I'd probably in this case will go, all right, these two ships will fire the rocket batteries at this guy, the rocket batteries at this guy, main 4 guns will shoot at this one, and 4 guns that shoot at this. I could take out possibly the entire squadron of frigates with just mine. So that is a possibility. So there you go. That is the Guilford in a nutshell. It is something that you want to keep your 4 arcs towards the enemy, so half your front of your ship, at least if you got your 4 volley guns, be able to go in action. The rocket batteries have a 360-degree arc, so it doesn't matter what direction you're shooting. So that's the nice thing. You just have to have line of sight. So that's the wonderful thing about the Guilford. And the pack tactics compounding together to really hammer somebody really hard in the game. And it adds up quickly. Now, I sort of hinted at what's the best way to stop that is you got to screen. You know, if somebody is running Guilfords out front or behind and you have your frigate and corvette screens, put a screen out so they can't see what they're targeting, and then, you know, they force them to shoot at the closest targets. Then that's the only way you really can handle these things, short of running your cruisers out and start hammering them with long-range gunnery. That's your only really possibility with that. So if you're defending with these things, keep them hidden until they can move out, then fire. Keep them screened behind your frigates, your corvettes, and your cruisers, and then when the opportunity comes out, move the squadron out, fire away, and then hopefully they can't retaliate as well against you, and then you can move put your screen back out in front of these guys to protect them until the next turn, and then you can move them back out, fire away, put another screen, and kind of the leaping hedgehog type thing where you're putting out a fence in front of you to protect you, to keep them off your lawn while you're going out and kicking them off the sidewalk. There you go. That's the Guilford. It's a good ship. I love them. So if you have an opportunity to pick some up sometime, get some. In this day and age where we're not sure if we're going to see more of these being produced, it's hard to say, but they are nice little ships. If you get your hands on some, do it. All right. This is Hellcrex. Hope you guys have a great one. Like and subscribe. Share with all your friends, and we will talk with y'all later.